In the ancient cradle of civilization, where the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates carved life into the Mesopotamian plain, the sun set on the mighty Akkadian Empire, and a long shadow of chaos fell across summer. The Gudians, fierce highland tribes from the Zagros Mountains, had overrun the land, reducing once proud cities to fractured provinces and temple states squabbling over territory and power. But amidst the collapse, in the city of Ur, a luminous jewel of the southern plains, a man named Ur-Nammu rose to restore what had been lost. Around 2112 BCE, Ur-Nammu, originally a governor under the nominal rule of the Gudians, seized an opportunity not just for power, but for the revival of an entire civilization. Declaring himself king of Sumer and Akkad, he laid the foundations for what would become known as the Third Dynasty of Ur. Or Ur-Iyi, a centralized empire built on the ashes of chaos and inspired by the glory of past rulers like Sargon. Ur-Nammu was no mere conqueror. He was a builder, a lawgiver, and a man of vision. His rule brought together city-states under a single authority, re-established order in religious and civic life, and most famously, introduced one of the world's first known law codes, the Code of Ur-Nammu, predating even Hammurabi's by centuries. This early code prescribed fines and punishments, not based solely on retribution, but reflecting a growing sense of administrative justice. Under Ur-Nammu's leadership, a vast bureaucracy began to form, recording everything from grain distribution to temple offerings in meticulous detail on thousands of clay tablets. He also began the construction of the Great Ziggurat of Ur, a towering structure dedicated to the moon god Nanna, which would come to symbolize the might and piety of the dynasty. After Ur-Nammu's untimely death in battle, the empire passed to his son Shulgi, who reigned for nearly 5 decades and transformed Ur-3 into the most sophisticated state the world had yet seen. Shulgi was a brilliant administrator and an egotistical reformer who proclaimed himself a god, likening his wisdom and strength to that of the deities themselves. He reorganized the military, established extensive road networks with rest stations for messengers and travelers, and implemented a system of governors to oversee far-flung provinces, creating one of the earliest examples of a true bureaucratic empire. The economy flourished under his reign, bolstered by international trade that stretched to the Indus Valley and Anatolia. Temples were not just religious centers, but hubs of economic activity, staffed by trained scribes and officials who managed livestock, lands, and labor. Education and literacy expanded, with scribal schools adubis teaching the next generation of administrators and priests how to read and write Sumerian and Akkadian. Cultural life blossomed, producing hymns, laments, and royal praise poetry that still survives today, etched in cuneiform. Shulgi's reign, though prosperous, also sowed the seeds of instability, as his godlike status and rigid control may have alienated segments of the population and local elites. After his death, his successors struggled to hold the empire together. Over-centralization made the state brittle, and as power weakened, the borders grew vulnerable. The Elamites from the east and Amorites from the west began pressing in, exploiting the cracks in Ur's armor. Despite the best efforts of the later kings, including Amar-Sin and Shu-Sin, the structure of Ur-3 began to collapse. By 2004 BC, the Elamites invaded, sacked the city of Ur, and took its last king, Ibi-Sin, into captivity. The ziggurat was left to crumble in the sands, and the empire that had once united Sumer under divine kingship came to an abrupt and tragic end. Yet even in its fall, the legacy of Ur-3 endured. The legal, administrative, and cultural foundations it laid would influence the Babylonian and Assyrian empires that followed. The Code of Ur-Nammu would echo in the law tablets of Hammurabi. The bureaucratic precision developed under Shulgi would become a model for imperial governance. And the mythic grandeur of Ur, remembered in Sumerian lamentations like the Lament for Ur, would cast a long shadow across history. Today, the ruins of Ur still stand dust-covered and silent, save for the desert wind as a haunting testament to humanity's ancient dream of unity, justice, and divine order rising from the chaos of a fallen world. Thank you for watching.